Alright, shalom everyone. Okay, so this is now the first of, if it be as will, a few sets of videos going over the actual playlist. You can see this is the first grade standards. I reviewed a little bit of this a few weeks ago, but now the playlist is complete. And we're going to go through kind of the playlist that we have here. Yeah, Willin, I would like to add some more supplemental learning in terms of what I think our children should have underneath their belt. That being said, in terms of the DK standards, this would be a thorough review. So let's just kind of dive in and see what we have here. So for first grade, for DK 12, it's extremely important that the children already know how to write. Not learning how to write. No, they need to know how to write their name. They need to know how to write, I can hop, or Susie slept well. Very, very basic sentence structure. So for the playlists that have already been available in terms of the public for pre-K and kindergarten, those kind of go, you may see some videos that are familiar. For instance, the first grade sentence writing structure, or the sentence song. Sentence begins with a capital letter. A capital letter is a letter that's big. Even the sentence song here, 4 types of sentences. These things, this is a good one. I just found her, hallelujah, not too long ago, how to write for a kindergartner. Again, very simple sentences. That's the not the most important thing. That's primarily what we want. If it be as will, when I say we, those who are trying to follow the DK standards according to this method would want to make sure that your children, before moving on to first grade, can write a sentence. So if they're getting used to writing or spelling or what have you, then don't be afraid to make sure that they really hone in on those skills before pushing them to first grade, because these standards kind of get up and moving after this. But before I get ahead of myself, here's the standards. We have writing, first grade sentence writing. You have your 4 types of sentences. This homeschool pop, he does a pretty good job in terms of breaking that down. I like how he speaks. Again, Mrs. Peace, she does an excellent job. And very, kind of hands-on, visual as well. There's a game. I think it's important that as these playlists are going, there's activities within them to check for understanding. Ideally, yeah, Willin, when I say, if you were to follow the method for a all year round school, they would have 2 months of learning and then a month off, 2 months of learning and a month off, and so on and so forth. If you follow a similar pattern, then perhaps for first month, you're just let this playlist play. Of course, please, all parents and educators, look at this playlist to determine whether or not that these standards is something that you would want to, or these videos are something that you would want to view in front of your children. That being said, yeah, Willin, there should be nothing offensive in them. But again, that's something for the parent, or for you, the educator, to view. With all that said, it's important, I think, for check to understanding. So as the videos are being played, even if the babies are doing different activities, not just don't send them in front of a screen, but if they have hands-on learning, like for instance the foam letters, foam mats, when I mean tablets, I literally mean like Etch-a-Sketches or 2025 Etch-a-Sketches, where you can learn how to write or what have you. How they have those at Walmart. You can have a little it looks like a tablet. There's no internet access, but you just can write on it with a stylus and write the word or what have you, and you click the center button to erase the word. This is what I mean by a tablet. I don't mean a form of internet connection. But if having things like that, or even having workbooks in front of them while they're, while they're doing these hands-on learning, it's so that way it's to connect all of the senses together. They're hearing it. They're playing with the foam letters or the foam mats. They're writing with their tablets, or even with pieces of paper, or crayon or what have you. And they're visually, when they do look up after, if there's like a group or what have you, maybe they have siblings or what have you, and they're all talking about it or what have you, then and engaging with one another on these, like, oh, hey, there's a sentence game. Oh, I can make this sentence, or I can make that sentence. They're engaging with one another, and then they may look up and see, oh, hey, yeah, we got it right. Or they may look up and say, oh, it's the four, declarative, imperative, interrogative, exclamatory. Like for the little ones here, they love doing the exclamatory, chow. That being said, I already apologize for all parents that have to go through the shout part. I'm so sorry. I'm so sorry. But they're little ones trying to learn. That being said, it's always good to check for understanding while these videos are being played, and repetition. And these videos play and play and play and play, literally, especially if you're going through the all year round school method. They're literally playing for the entire year minus 4 months, and that's if you follow that method. It's constant, and I think that kind of drives it home there. So kind of moving along, you have simple and compound sentences. Again, it's not that on day one, oh, we expect you to write a compound sentence. It's introduce it, so that way by the time you have your worksheets that you may get from Teacher Paid Teacher for free, the word compound sentences isn't scaring the little ones, because they've heard the word simple and compound sentences for the entire year, and they've been hearing this video that's kind of introducing it to them the entire year. So when you do give the worksheet and try to formally explain it for your children and how they will best learn, it's not a confusing thing to them. Here's an immersion reading. I like this story. I don't remember the first time I saw this. The punctuation come to town, or the day the punctuation came to town. I like it. It's very interactive. It does kind of drive home what exclamation, question mark, comma, period do. I think that's good. Again, sentence fragments as they're learning. Again, day one is not to, oh wow, you have fragmented sentences. That being said, by mid first grade, now it's like, okay, here's what fragment sentences are. I can see that you get as it'll say up here, the first grade sentences, it'll say Jill, or Jill can, or something, and it's like, okay, it'll break it down. Okay, the subject is Jill. What did she do? Do we know what she did? No. Okay, is that a complete thought? No, it's not a complete thought. It's fragmented. We don't know what she did, so we have to finish the thought. So just the fact that it was kind of introduced here, and again, these videos are being played over and over again. It's brought home again here to drive home the point. What is being talked about? Now, grammar quiz. These are kind of informal quizzes that are throughout the videos. That you're going to see these, and throughout the standards, that I highly put quizzes within the playlist. Again, these are going to be played over and over again, so they're going to memorize which answers are right. That being said, while they hear it, it's like a brain teaser for them, if that makes sense. Because again, how this teaching style works in terms of trying to get all of the senses on point, there may be a day where they're focusing more on the foam letters and trying to write what type of sentence, declarative, imperative, interrogative, exclamatory, rather than listening to the actual grammar quiz. Does it have an exclamation point, or does it have a capital letter, and for this one? Does it have spaces between the words, or is it kind of all jumbled together? When they actually do take because it'll come up, if you play this nonstop, it'll come a point where they'll hear the grammar quiz, and even though they will eventually memorize it, it will be kind of brain exercises until they get to that point to prepare them for when you do formally quiz them with a written quiz. They've already heard the quiz. They've already heard a quiz, excuse me. They already seen a quiz. They're already getting their mind accustomed to being asked if something is missing or what have you. Again, this is 100 action verbs. This is good. You may recognize, this is a long one, but again, just kind of going through all the actions thereof. And here we go. Bring it all together. Here's the subject, here's the verb, here's the object. Bringing this is the quick version, but bringing this all the way home. It's a little longer now. All right, now we have our sight words. Let's make the sentence with our sight words. I see my fish. I can see my bag. I can see the man. I think I can't. There's the 19's in front of the way. But what I'm trying to say, it brings it, bring it on in, bring it all home. Next would be the syllables. Apple, apple, apple. Scratch Garden, that's what they do. Like it definitely brings a point home for the syllables. But again, and as we all know, for the syllables, you're usually clapping it, so that's a good activity for them. What is it? Blazer Fresh, I think. Yeah, Blazer Fresh. They do a great video where it is, you can, as it says, dance along, so that way you're clapping with the words and they're really getting what it means to have 1 syllable, 2 syllable, 3 syllable, 4 syllable words, and it gets the babies out of their seat, and it'll get them dancing and what have you. But again, we're hitting all sensor points. That's the point, not to just let it, not just to be sitting down in either front of a TV or even sitting down formally at a desk with just a piece of paper and what have you, to kind of get up and moving and cover all sensor points. I think that really does help in terms of learning. Again, another video in terms of counting syllables. This is kind of bringing it back down after the dance along. Syllables again. Vowel team syllables. Now you'll recognize vowel teams. Whoo! That is in pre-K and kindergarten when you go over the different vowel teams, and even in the Let's Learn to Read playlist, there's the vowel team. So here, when they hear vowel team, it's not what's a vowel team? They understand what that is, and again, it's being broken down this time in terms of syllables. Consonant blends. Again, you're going to hear a lot of consonant blends in the Let's Learn to Read playlist for pre-K and kindergarten. And really, that playlist is anyone who may need to kind of brush up, on their reading ability. Auntie Sandra goes over consonant blends or digraphs excellently well. PL is a consonant blend. It begins words we know so well. Little children sound your PL. So now that we're, again, kind of going over the blendings formally in this method, it should be something that's already been reviewed through the Let's Learn to Read playlist, and they're accustomed to via Auntie Sandra and the activities that she does with the little children for the consonant blends and even for the digraphs. Blend them up. Mr. B, again, another kind of dancing, kind of get up out of your seat. Let's blend up these, consonant blends and digraphs and what have you, in order to help, as it says, reinforce what has already been taught. And I will say this, it is my prerogative to do my very best to make sure that the representation of my people are on these playlists, for the simple fact that a lot of them, as you can see, don't necessarily represent us. But when I do find videos that do represent my people and my culture, I do try to do that so that way the children can see representation of themselves and what it is that they can and or cannot do. I think that's extremely important. Rock and learn. Again, this is just another video for different consonant blends that may not have been discussed in depth. So, sk for, SC and SK and SL and SM and SN and SP and ST. They may be familiar with the SW because Auntie Sandra does a lot of SCB. Little children, sound your SW. Swa, 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 swa. Now, Kiddos World TV. I do like how she helps with the sounding of the 3-letter words. So this is primarily for the beginning of first grade. But again, this, even though it's going to be played throughout the year, it's always a good thing to have that review there. That way no one, willing, will be left behind. It's something that even if someone says, well, I don't really understand, diagraphs. What do you mean diagraphs? What? Huh? Well, it's okay. That's just a fancy word of saying blending the two words. If you can do g, then don't worry about the label, digraph, or don't worry about the label consonant blends. Don't worry about that for digraphs. You do have to know the, ch, sh, whoosh, type of sounds for which. So the but the consonant blends, if someone's getting confused, like consonant blends, just from the title consonant blend, and if they're coming in and haven't done, let's say Auntie Sandra or what have you, this video would hopefully help give them courage. Just don't worry. What sound does P make? P. Sound does L make? Oh. Sound of U. G. G. So the fact that for at least Kiddos World TV, it'll kind of dog. It slows it down just to make sure that everyone's up to snuff on the different standards needed, or the different requirements needed to further on their education. All right. This one, endings. I think the endings are extremely important. They're going to come up again in second grade. So to introduce them here is extremely important. Past, present, and future. Walked or walked. The Nessie ending here, I have to it's like I have to say I do like this one. I'll say I should like the part where it was flying and my children were looking at, like, why is ED flying? I'm like, don't worry about it. We'll watch this playlist later on because we're still trying to hone in on the fact that we need to make sure we are able to write sentences before we further go into first grade. All right. And in terms of this, again, another endings, ing, ed, s, es. These are so important. These suffixes, so important, and they'll go, a little, here's some more. And you can see how it says second grade. This is extremely important because even though it'll be at the end of first grade where you may give them these worksheets, again, this playlist is playing from the beginning to the end of the year. So by the time that the worksheet is given, or by the time that, you may formally introduce this in terms of paperwork to your children, there's already background knowledge. So you're not having to explain it from the ground up. And that's where these playlists, all praise to you, who will really bring that, I think, that forth, because you've been hitting, hallelujah, all forms of the senses in terms of audio, visual. If you have hands-on, there's something about foam letters, y'all. I don't know what it is, but it's something about foam letters because you can start building words with them. You can start even building sentences with the foam letters, and the texture feels good on the hands. they snap together. If you have multiple foam layers, you'll be surprised what the babies will do with them. They can use them for construction, and you'll be like, whoa, you built this mega fort. Then also, they will on their own, we spelled cat. Huh? Yes, that's actually correct. Good job. And you can also see where if there's any mix-ups, because they'll say, they may read it in terms, again, from my culture, they may read it in Hebrew, the Hebrew way. So instead of, and you're like, no, don't read it as if it was Hebrew, read it in English. Your English is read this way. Oh, and then you'll be able to catch certain things that may need to be clear. Or they'll say cat, and maybe they'll be like, oh, okay, that's good, but K and C may make the same sound, but the word is C-A-T, not K-A-T. Things of that nature that you'll be able to catch on paper, but you'll be able to catch it, in my opinion, quicker with things like foam letters, or even if you have like those alphabet magnets, things of that nature, stuff for the hands, feel good on the hands. And you're catching all these senses, all these sorts of things, all these sensory ways of learning. That's so important, because I really do think, hallelujah, that's how to fully immerse the child in terms of what needs to be taught. So by the time, again, you hit second grade and you formally, or even the end of first grade going into second grade, and you formally introduce suffixes, this is not the first time they see FUL together in a word, or LY, playfully, or what have you, or believe a bull, or what have you. It's something that they've already heard, they've already seen, and who knows, you may be surprised on what they actually pick up, because as you're playing this in the background, and of course, meditating on the word of Yah, I will say this, I'll put more, I do intend to put more representation for Yahuwah's word in here, because there's not too much in the first grade standards. That's later on that it will come up, but in terms of the beginning portion, not so much. But I'm kind of spending a lot of time on kind of going through this. It's already 22 minutes in. Let's see if I can kind of pick up the pace just a smidge, so that way we can get through the rest of this playlist. But again, as this is being played in the background, these things are really being driven home. So that way, by the time you, the parent, formally introduce them in terms of, paperwork, it's already, you'll be surprised on what they have already picked up just on their own. I think that's extremely important. Again, possessive nouns, common and proper nouns, singular and plural. Again, it takes the endings, the S-E-S, I-E-S, from up here. It kind of, wait, where'd it go? There you go. From up here and explain it, bringing it down. And again, that representation, I think that representation is so important. That representation is so important. Again, now we're going over nouns, irregular nouns. What is this apostrophe for? This is going to come in for, again, second grade, but good to introduce it now. Personal nouns, pronouns, going over to pronouns. And here's the tense. Here's a song. I think songs are so important, because a lot of people do learn via music, and it helps. It can be used for good, and it can be used for evil. Yeah, well, let's use it for good. So I think it does help with that. In terms of the grammar quizzes, here's another one to just get them used to seeing it in that structure. So when you do present a formal quiz to them, they're not being thrown off just by this format, because sometimes the format of a quiz, or of a test, and the word quiz may throw children off. They may know it, but then when you start saying, oh, quiz, you're like, oh, well, is everything okay? Yeah, test my knowledge. Do I know it? Do I really know it? Whereas when they are playing maybe with their foam layers and their formats, or even when they're listening to the song, you can see that they actually do have that understanding. You just now need to have it on paper. Hey, gotta get it documented to prove that they understand. So those quizzes are not meant to scare, but rather get them adjusted to quizzes, so that way when you, the parent or the educator or the teacher, introduce it to them or give it to them, it's not so scary. It's not so scary. Here's the adjective song. Songs can be used for ill or for well, and yeah, well, let's leave them for well in order to make sure that the children learn. Gotta conjunction junction. What's your function? I probably totally. The thing is, this was during my mama's time, so I can't even say I marked my age because this is even older than me. But I know conjunction junction. Good stuff. Good stuff. And here we go. So this is, joining sentences, and this periwinkle. Sometimes they do well. Sometimes for me, not so well. But I do like how they can take a concept and quickly, and not quickly in a bad way, but make it clear, very clear, real clear. This is where, again, going back to earlier, yes, I had to have my own sound effects there, and I probably passed it. Where in the world did it go? Right, y'all know what I'm looking for. Aha! Simple and complex, compound sentences. See the fact that that was introduced there, and then you're going back over here to now quickly, formally explain it in a way that, oh, I get it. The conjunction can make two simple sentences, put them together, and it can make it a compound sentence. Oh, I get it. Oh, something like that. You're like, oh, I understand. Always good. Prepositions for kids. Again, I do like homeschool pop. And again, sometimes for me, smile and learn as well. Sometimes not so much, but I do like the cat in the box. And I do like the Scratch Garden song. It's very simple, but I do like it. It kind of is like an earworm. It gets in your head. As long as it doesn't get in your head more than the word of Yah, we're straight. Again, the quizzes. I like the preposition of time. I don't think a lot of people focus on that one. I think that's extremely important. Okay. The dog is outside. Again, more prepositions. And again, here we go for the representation and the different types of writing. First grade, you're going to get more into what writing is going to be from this time forth all the way to 12th grade. What is opinion writing? They're going to go on to later on what is narrative writing and things of that nature. So that way, even though it's not an essay, you may have, write an opinion sentence. I like red apples. If anyone, shout out to Adam and the Red Ruby, that you can find in the playlist for the Let's Learn to Read. That's an opinion book. So you can, as you introduce, again, even here, this video, fact or opinion, then you can start teaching the children what an opinion is. There's fact, something that it doesn't matter what your opinion is. It will be as some say, the truth will be, whether you like it or not. Or there's an opinion. What's the difference between the two? Even though this does say 4th grade right here, it is, again, we're doing stepping stones, so that way it's not scary. Writing a sentence for an opinion is what is required for the 1st grade. In terms of these formal things, they'll have to do paragraphs in 2nd grade, so it's not, you don't want to kind of go from oh, right, we've been writing, one sentence, and then wait, I have to write 5 sentences, and then there's something called a introductory sentence and a conclusion, and then there's body sentences. What the world is this? Again, introducing it to them at the very beginning through the playlist. They made just like Oreo. I like Oreos. Something like that. But by the time mid first grade comes around, by the time end of first grade comes around, it starts to hit home as oh, we're gonna have to write paragraphs. And starting to work with what that is. Again, this kind of breaks down that Oreo, method for at least the opinion writing, what that would be. And this goes another facts versus opinion. I think this is extremely important, so that way they can tell the difference between the correct type of book and a non-correct type of book. You don't want them to think that every book is law, but at the same time, you want them to understand the difference between the two. This book is about your opinion. This book is about facts. You can't get away from it. What it says is true. It is what it is. It doesn't matter your opinion, whether you like it or not. It is what it is. Again, Mrs. Peace, I like, the representation. Compares and contrasts, sight words and compound words. So kind of everything that was just reviewed in a longer format. Here is the narrative writing piece, and it'll break it down in terms of more personal narrative writing piece, where you're telling a story about yourself and what actually happened. So this goes more into the facts. So you can go, opinion versus fact. This is now fact. In a day, they may say, what does your morning look like? And this is where they show how to do the narrative writing planning. You can draw it. Well, I may walk the dog, and then in order to walk the dog, I put the leash on the dog and go outside or what have you. Things of that nature. A true story about your life. Your narrative writing piece. This is for first grade, for DK standards, to introduce them so that to what narrative writing is, to what opinion writing is, and as you can see, what informative writing is, because that is going to come up with vengeance in second grade and even third grade. Because again, for a lot of you who may be familiar with, public schools, they start testing fifth grade, sixth grade, in terms of these standards, to see if they can write essays regarding these standards. So you teach them what they are now, and start writing, one sentences now, and then maybe, mid first grade, you're able to at least do, your intro sentence, your one body sentence, your one conclusion sentences, aka 3 sentences. By the end of first grade, you got your full 5 sentences, and you're kind of moving and grooving and what have you, ready to go into second grade to expand on that even further. Is that's if it be Yah's will, the desire. All right, how to again, this slows it down. Then it goes how to write an actual paragraph. So as they've seen what opinion writing is, they've seen what personal narrative writing is, they're going to hear the word paragraph. Not all the time, but they're going to hear the word, like right here, paragraph. Eventually, what's a paragraph? So rather than just kind of jumping off the top and saying, oh yeah, paragraph's 5 sentences, like, wait, what? Like, no, learn the type of sentence or the type of writing that we're doing first. Now let's get into what is this, how do we structure it? Okay, so we need to structure in a paragraph. Okay, there's a sentence, and then there's a paragraph. A paragraph is 5 sentences. Informal writing. Okay, sorry. Informative writing, not informal. Informative writing, excuse me. How to do research. If you notice, in a lot of the standards, they'll say research at the end of them. to introduce them what it means to research a topic and how to write about that topic. So that way they're not just spitting back out what it is that they just researched. No, this is a mixture of you giving me the information and maybe a little bit of your opinion, but not too much. But just give me the information, kind of wrap it up for me if I didn't know. Inform me, tell me in your own words what you read, in short. Persuasive writing. So again, breaking down what persuasive means. So that way they understand there's different types of books out there. Not all books are the word of the Most High. The word of the Most High is fact. It is what it is. Doesn't matter your opinion, it is what it is. Whereas a persuasive writing may be someone trying to persuade you what they believe is coming out of the word, rather than, as the word says, let the word tell you what the word is trying to say. Whereas someone may try to persuade you, this is what it means. Or they may try to persuade you that your opinion, again, opinion writing, was wrong. Persuasive writing, so they can start to identify what people are, how people are addressing them, and even what books they're reading, so they can understand, are you trying to persuade me to your side so my opinion changes? Or can this not be changed for the simple fact that it is a fact? Or the different forms in terms of, no, this is not just an informative, this is a narrative. I'm telling you what happened to me in my life in this day. Whereas an informative, no, I'm telling you the facts about dogs. I simply have to have a dog, and this is what I do with the dog each day, or what have you. Again, identifying persuasive text. This is all first grade standards or what have you. So introducing it now makes it less scary for when they have to say it earlier or later on. Now, here's something that I think is kind of lost in the sauce, and I think is really good. Dictionary skills. Now, my thing was, you may say, what in the world? Why is there a Swahili dictionary? The purpose is to start to help them understand, because here and here, they're of course going to go to your regular Webster's dictionary or what have you. It is important to let them know now, or to kind of start to wrap your mind around that these dictionaries are built on the perception of a certain demographic. Whereas our dictionaries are also built on the perceptions of a certain demographic. Again, that representation, you need to be able to see, okay, well, this is what this word would mean, of course, in English. But who knows? Maybe if you are in Africa or what have you, this word may seem a little bit different. So that's why there's just a little bit of a different taste to it. And of course, going over our Hebrew vocabulary, because that's our culture. But that being said, this is to start. This is more of a thinker. Like, okay, dictionary skills, this is how I use this dictionary for English. I could not find, I think, any English dictionary that was black written. I couldn't find one. I know right now, I think, I remember his name. A prominent black figure is right now just working on a black dictionary. But even then, it's still ran by a non-black institution. And I just think that's very, striking, because the definition of words is what helps you formulate these sentences and formulate these paragraphs, to formulate these opinion writings or narrative writings or informative writings or what have you. It helps you formulate the world. So the fact that there's no dictionary on how we would define these certain things, I think is striking. So that is why, for the representation fact, okay, well, who wrote the first Swahili dictionary, Swahili to English dictionary? This is what they interpreted the English words to mean. I think that's a good thought-provoking sentiment. Again, what is a thesaurus? What is a thesaurus used for? How do you use it? Again, word processing. This is all first grade standards, mind you. This is not anything I have added. This is first grade standards in terms of word processing. Again, you'll see an introduction. It's like this is grade 2, introduction to, Microsoft Word. This is, again, for the end of the year. So that way by the end of the year, they know the basics of Microsoft Word. Now we're going more into, and I'm gonna stop this one just for the fact that it's now we're done with English and language arts. You can see going through each of these standards, it really does, or each of these sections within the standards, it really does take a moment. I'm gonna break it up so that way, that's already 40 minutes there. You all can kind of view it, digest it, and then move forward. Willing, I will try to do quick certain quick videos in terms of if there's any missing material that I did not see covered well, then that is when I will add my 2 cents in. That being said, 9 times out of 10, there's no need to reinvent the wheel. If someone's already did a video about it, might as well just put it in the playlist and kind of keep moving forward. That being said, I do hope that this has been very informative, and I pray that it will be of assistance. All right, shalom, and much love to you all.